but which helps us to move to our next speaker, which is Vicky Zhang from Zhejiang University, something close to that. And he will be talking about brain mechanisms of meta-control states and persistence and flexibility induced by creativity and meditation tasks. So go ahead.
Oh, I guess. Can you hear me?
Excellent.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, you can also see PowerPoint.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Weitao. I was Bernard's PhD student in Leiden, and now I work as a postdoc researcher in Zhejiang University. And this work I present is the work we did in Leiden. So the topic is still about Bernhard's theory about meta control, persistence, and flexibility. So this research is just accepted in several contexts. Now it's in press. So the topic is about neural correlates of meta control persistence and the flexibility induced by creativity and meditation. So firstly, let me give you some introduction about what meta control is. So, I have a trouble or difficulty to understand the meta control for the past for many years. Because the Bernhard firstly proposed this meta control states model, and to do this research, I have to understand it. But after many years of research, I know I have to understand it in my own way. So I play basketball. I play basketball a lot. So in basketball playing, I understand the two states. Firstly, in a situation or occasion, when you shoot, you have to, in order to just get to the goal, you have to focus on the goal, on the ball, on the hoop, and ignore other noise like your enemies and the audience. This is what I can understand as a persistent state, because in these states you just focus on one thing and you ignore other stuffs. But when you are not shooting, you're just running with the ball or without the ball, you have to be aware of the changes in the playground. So you have to be aware of all the information happening in the playground. So you have to be flexibility. You have to be open to all the possibilities or options that happening. This is flexibility. So the meta control is a concept that it's defined as the control to cognitive control. So what I understand the meta control is based on what's happening outside, you have to change your mind to switch between persistent states or flexibility states in this case. So this is what I understand as meta control. And also meta control, I think it's really important to human beings because as human beings, we need to survive, we need to evolve, and we have so many like life crises or so many dangerous things to deal with. So firstly, when you have a very difficult problem, like you have to firstly to focus on the problem to solve it. So this is a persistent state. But if you cannot solve it, you have to be open up to all the information that you can get, to gathering information to process, and then with those information, in this state, you are a flexibility state. And with all this information, you can come back to the purpose or goal to back into a persistent state to focus on the problem. So I think this cognitive control mechanism or of meta control is also really important to human beings. But the meta control states we are studying in this research is what? So firstly, as Bernhard has already reported that he proposed a theory about meta control. So he defined meta control in a decision-making situation. For example, in a decision-making situation, you have to make a decision, and there's a different options for you to select. So in the end you have to select the only one options. But before you make your final choice, there may be two states of mind. First is what we call persistence. So in this persistent state, in this situation, we define the task requirement or the goal has very strong top-down bias to some alternatives or some options. So there's a very strong top-down bias, and because of the top-down bias to some options, this option is very competitive to compared to other options, because once you select this option, you will ignore other options. So we define persistence as a state that you have a very strong top-down bias from the goal, and also you have a very strong mutual competition between the options you are selecting. And speak of flexibility, because there's no strong top-down bias, and also, for example, in the case that in a creativity case, every possible solution is okay. So there's no right answer. So you have no strong top-down bias from the goal, and also every answer has its possibility. So there's also very weak competition between options. So this is the meta control flexibility that Bernhard defines. So the meta control is a cognitive control, or the meta cognitive control that allow you to switch between different states of persistence and flexibility. And in our research, the purpose is to study the neural mechanism of the meta control states, like persistent states, what's the brain activity, and flexibility states. But in order to study these two states, we currently don't have a direct measurement for them. So we have to use other tools. For example, in previous study, we firstly found in creative thinking there are two types of thinking: convergent and divergent thinking. So in convergent thinking, the typical task is RAT, the remote associate task. So in this task, we present you with 3 words, and you have to think another word that connected to these 3 words. For example, the cocktail dress and birthday, their answer is birthday, cocktail party, dress party, and birth party. So in this case, there are only one correct solution. And the task, it's a well-defined question, and there's only one correct solution. So it has a very strong top-down bias from the task requirement, and also all the possible options have very strong competition between each other. And another task we use is a divergent thinking task. So in this task, we just present you a common object, and you need to think different alternative uses for it. So in this situation, there's no wrong answers, and also the task requirement is also weak. So there's a very low top-down control and very low mutual competition between the possible ideas. So this is just like a flexibility state. And we also use another tool, which is meditation. So it's really easy to understand. There's two typical way to do mindfulness meditation. One is focused attention meditation, in which we all know we focus on one thing and ignore any other things. For example, usually we focus on the breath or focus on the thought, and in the meantime, you ignore any other things happening inside of you or outside of you. This is just the definition of persistence. And another is open monitor meditation. In this meditation, you are just asked to open up and to accept any thoughts that may come up at any time. So this is just a flexibility state. So this is just a conceptual level. But so to prove its work, so we also did a lot of studies. Firstly, for example, convergent thinking can increase top-down control and reduce crosstalks in dual task performance. And it's a state that's related to persistence. And after you finish divergent thinking, it's associated with a substantial increase in joint summon effect. And in the meantime, in 2012, Lorenza study also found that focused attention meditation and open monitor meditation can facilitate both convergent thinking and divergent thinking respectively. This is from evidence level. And see here, so also from theoretical level, there's so many theoretical review has discussed their relationship, like the convergent thinking and divergent thinking relationship with persistence and flexibility, also met to the two types of meditation. So this is just the base that based on this, we can say we use this two types of meditation, two types of creativity, that we can induce a state of persistence and flexibility. So we use this to task and to induce states, and we do fMR analysis. And speak of the possible neural mechanism, previous study has found previous studies or researchers has done a lot of research on stability and flexibility. But speak of stability, they use the paradigm is like distractor resistance. They just they're doing a task and prevent the distractor to just get into your focus. And speak of flexibility, previous study used task switching, as we all know what is that. So they say they prove or they suggest that stability or persistence are related to a mechanism of dopamine D1 receptor. And the flexibility is related to dopamine D2, and in the brain, it's also related to prefrontal cortex and basal ganglia, because prefrontal cortex is an area about executive function, working memory, things like that. And basal ganglia is every time in task switching you make a switch, and the basal ganglia just activate because your attention just switched. It's related to a switch or what they define as flexibility. And also people find there's a functional connectivity between basal ganglia and default mode network is related to flexibility. So this is the possible neural mechanism that previous study thought. So in our study, we just put the experienced meditators into the MRI and ask them to do creative task and meditation and test their brain. So this is basically what we did. And about the research question. So firstly, we want to study the neural correlates of meta control, and to study this, we have to firstly we compare the brain within creativity, like we compare the convergent thinking task and the divergent thinking task, and we believe the contrast that convergent thinking minus divergent thinking it's suggesting a state of persistence and vice versa. In meditation, we also compared the focused attention meditation and the open monitor meditation. So our hypothesis is in all the activated regions. I know we focus on the cognitive control related region, and if this region, for example, in the persistence contrast, it shows a function of strong top-down control or mutual computation, it may be persistence regions. And so does flexibility. If it shows a characteristics or function of weak top-down control and weak mutual computation, it may be a flexibility regions. But this is just what we can do based on previous study and based on the current condition. And in the meantime, we also need to do some overlap or conjunction analysis between meditation and creativity, so we can know whether there's a common characteristic of the brain between meditation and creativity for the meta control states. And we also did an ROI analysis for the neural mechanism proposed by previous study. We focus on the prefrontal cortex and the basal ganglia. So method. So we collected 43, and in the end, they used 41 participants. They are all experienced meditators with at least 5 years of experience. And yeah, this is most important information. And they also do daily practice of meditation. So do I. And after they come two sessions. Also, the two sessions are counterbalanced. Well, a meditation session and creative session. We also collect a bunch of data, but in this study we only focus on the fMR data of meditation and creativity. So this is the general schedule of the procedure. Let's just dive into it. So in the creativity task, so one is AUT, one is RT. This is for divergent thinking and flexibility, and this is for persistence. So in this task, we just present a card. Like when participant has idea, they just press the button. Another idea, just press the button for another time, and in the end, they just speak one of the most creative ideas. So, but we also don't. We also cannot record the idea because it's too noisy in the fMRI. And in the persistence task, we ask the participant to do the RAT, and when they press the button, they will speak the idea. And for we use the time window of the 2 seconds prior to the button press for fMRI analysis. And speak of meditation task, we firstly present a 2 minutes audio for them to guide them into the meditation states. And then they start to meditate by themselves. And then there's also a 30 seconds audio. And this is 10 trials. And so in the end, we use the 45 seconds without any audios when they just meditate by themselves for fMRI data analysis. So this is just what they do in the scanner. So firstly, the result is like, let's just firstly see creativity results. So there's a table with a lot of details, but let's just go deeper into it. You can find, if you look into the RAT minus AUT, which indicates a persistent state. We firstly found that there's SFG, MFG, ACC, IFG. These area are all belong to prefrontal cortex. So this region, as we have already discussed, it indicate a strong top-down control. And also in the meantime, the basal ganglia or striatum indicated by the activation of cortex and putamen are also activated in the persistent states. So I think this activation of beta ganglia, which was thought to be related to flexibility, because in task switching it activates, But in this state, it also activates because I think in this task there's a lot of switch between ideas. Also in this states, there's when you need to make the final selection, different ideas must compete with each other strongly. So there's a very strong mutual competition between the alternatives. So this is just an characteristics of what we define what persistence is. So this two area, PFC and BG, are just shows the characteristics of persistent states. And AUT minus RAT, which we want to find something about flexibility, we from the activity area we found Pretunus, PCC, and angular gyrus activate. They all belongs to default mode network. We all know default mode networks is a network that is related to resting states. So in this stage, people may just lower their top down, and there's also lower conflict or competition between different alternatives. This is also what we defined as flexibility, just as what we defined. So this is what we found from flexibility, from AUT minus RAT. Okay, so this is the creativity result. And meditation, unfortunately, we found nothing. So there's no significant activation after correction. And because of there's no significant effect, we also found no significant, no overlap between creativity and meditation. But in the ROI analysis, we found something. You see, this is creative session, RAT versus AUT, and we found because we extract coordinates from a previous study the stability and the flexibility. So in this study, we found the coordinates of PFC and BG, include PFC including DLPFC and ACC, and BG including just the coordinates of BG. And in the RAT, there's persistence has higher activation than flexibility in all area. And this PFC and BG are just the combination of these small areas. And even though there's no effect of whole brain analysis, in this RI analysis, we also found the FAM, which is persistence, and this is flexibility. That flexibility has stronger activation than persistence has stronger activation than flexibility in both prefrontal cortex area, which is ACC, and also basal ganglia. So this is what we found that can support our result. So this is all the results. And in the end, let's just discuss first why there's no meditation effect. So this is our meditation. We found no activation after FWE correction. And when I look into previous study, I found a study conducted by Mana. They also did a very similar research, and they also reported no corrected answers. So they reported uncorrected results, but no corrected results. So I assume they also didn't find any significant effect. So I believe, or we believe, maybe the effect for the two meditation states are just too small to show significant effect in the fMRI studies. But there's also another study which is very recently. They firstly asked the participants to do focus attention meditation and open monitoring meditation respectively. And after that, they asked participants to do flanker task. And they compare the brain when participants are doing flanker task. They found a significant difference when people are doing flanker task. So it may suggest next time or in the future, maybe when you want to study the effect in the brain of people's meditating, maybe you can just study in the brain activity influenced by meditation, but not rather than states that you are meditating. So this is what we found. And speak of the main results. So firstly, in the creative task, it has been observed that persistence activates the PFC and BG, where flexibility activates the DMN, the default mode network. Moreover, the ROI analysis also supports the activation of PFC and BG in the meditation context. You know, the PFC is a region associated with executive function, which inherently represent top-down control. The BG, on the other hand, is active during task switch, reflecting the switching and the competition between options. Together, these two, the PFC and BG, precisely align with our definition of persistence. And in the case of flexibility, the DMN is activated. This network is typically associated with resting states characterized by low executive functions and the minimal top-down control, thereby creating conditions for the simultaneous existence of different options. Therefore, this study has identified that these three regions are related to meta control. So this is our final conclusion. But in the end, I still have to mention that because there's no direct measurement of these two states, so when they compare these different tasks in their brain, other area may still activated. So this may be a confounder. So this is the main limitation of this study. So that's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do we have, yes, we have time for even two questions. Is there any
Okay.
question from inside or outside of the room?
So maybe I have a question, Vicky. Are you planning to continue this kind of research also in China? Because there are, for example, here close to Jinan, there are several monks living and meditating daily. I can imagine that in this kind of population, maybe the meditation effect on the brain would be stronger also on a whole brain level. What do you think?
I'd love to continue the research and especially meditation. And also my current focus in Zhejiang University is also related to meditation.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, if there's a possibility we can still cooperating on this thing, that would be perfect.
Yes.